At the time of recording this video, I've been riding for a mere year and a half. I put maybe 10,000 plus miles collectively. I've ridden about 10 plus motorcycles at least once, and I've gone hooning in just about every single weather condition except snow and ice. However, not once did I ever stop to just think about how lucky I was to be experiencing all this within a short amount of time. You see, here in America, we're outright spoiled. Some of y'all may not think so, but we're spoiled, especially as both car guys and motorcycle guys. And I know you Californians may not be feeling that right now, but y'all are always welcome to the rest of the United States of freedom. Anyhow, to my surprise, and really ignorance, several of my subscribers have informed me that they don't have it easy when it comes to getting their motorcycle license, let alone just buying any bike that they want. So first things first, we're going to talk about the differences between attaining a motorcycle license. In America, for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. You take a 16-hour or 2-day basic rider course, or BRC, and after successfully passing, you'll be granted an endorsement that you can then take to your local DMV, BMV, or MVD to officially have your driver's license endorsed with the coveted M lettering under your driver class. And to my knowledge, so long as you renew your driver's license whenever your state requires you to, your motorcycling privileges goes along with it, even if you haven't operated a motorcycle for years or ever. Some folks just like having motorcycling privileges just because they can, and it's easy to get in America. Across the Atlantic or Pacific, however, this certainly is not the case. For example, motorcyclists from the UK have to undergo something that I'll call a tier list of licenses. Those said licenses are age restricted and engine capacity restricted, meaning that motorcyclists must meet both the age and or riding experience criteria as well as adhering to a specific engine capacity class to attain the next level of motorcycle operator. And before I continue, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong and or provide more specifics in the comments section below, as I know my research isn't bulletproof. As for some Southeast Asian countries like Thailand, I'm told insurance companies require that you retake a motorcycle test every X amount of years just to retain your license. Here in the States, you don't necessarily have to. Hell, if you're a rich 18-year-old having just passed the BRC, you can literally buy the biggest, baddest machine out there. That's right, hypothetically speaking, an American 18-year-old could buy and ride a Kawasaki Ninja H2 the very same day they passed the BRC. Can you believe that? Some of you folks overseas are probably shaking your head because all you're imagining right now is a bunch of American kids doing this. Which brings me to my next point. What's considered a beginner bike? This has been a hot topic in American bike culture, and I'm sure it is for the rest of you worldwide. But we Americans are completely desensitized by power. Power as in horsepower. Culturally speaking, we're known to be the country with the big, bad, bulky V8, so it's kind of been ingrained within our brains to always want more of everything, including more power at our disposal. Not to mention, we have plenty of time to experience open and developed roads with our massive machines, a luxury that we often take for granted even in our most congested metropolitan cities. To illustrate my point, I've been driving around the Chicago Metroplex, the third most populous city in the US, many a times for days on end, rush hour or no rush hour, and I can tell you that it has absolutely nothing on traffic even in a remote city like Zhangye, China. I mean, people are walking, many are riding bicycles or small mopeds, motorcycles, or they're operating a car, bus, whatever. And yet, everyone is dodging one another effortlessly and somehow not impeding traffic. Folks in Chicago would just be honking away, bickering at one another. Anyways, broadly and generally speaking, after examining fellow bikers across YouTube, forums, and biker meetups, we Americans even go as far as calling anything under 500 cc's a beginner bike, or if you're a Harley guy, anything under 1200 cc. Heck, many fellow YouTubers, including myself, started on a 600cc super sport without thinking much about it. Some hoonigans even started on 1,000 cc's right off the bat. Imagine that. Now, before I continue, I know there isn't a direct correlation between displacement and power, but just bear with me as folks overseas in Europe, India, and Southeast Asia, on the other hand, have a totally different perspective on what they believe to be a beginner motorcycle. For instance, my girlfriend has a Yamaha R3, which is a 321cc sport bike, and in the States, hands down, most sport bike riders would consider this little guy a beginner bike. Yet, would you guys believe me if I told you that pretty much everywhere else in the world, they would consider the R3 a middleweight bike? I'm serious. Let me tell y'all a story real quick. So when my girlfriend got her R3, my Indian coworker who had been riding motorcycles for a number of years was astonished to find out that she was starting on such a big bike. Personally, he owned some 150cc Indian sport bike and he thought that she was crazy. Also, just wanted to quickly mention, I've only recently in the last few months found out that the R3 is almost exclusively sold in North America. The rest of the world pretty much gets a Yamaha R125, a Yamaha R15, or a Yamaha R25. Not gonna lie, I wish the United States could get every one of the 125, 150, 250 boys so that I could go hooning on them. We're just kind of stuck with the Grom and the Z125 woolly boys, but whatever, one can dream to have those other bikes one day. And finally, the last subject I wanted to cover for this video was differences on what we value. What I mean by that is, in this context, it's how we view and treat our glorious machines. You see, here in the States, very few people I know would go out of their way and modify a sub 500cc sport bike. I know some of you 300cc owners out there are probably going to be commenting down below about how you have some exhaust setup with a tune or whatever, but that's all fine and dandy. But the vast majority of smaller displacement sport bikes in particular are untouched, bone stock, because in the minds of the American consumer, he knows that, one, he'll either stop riding motorcycles sometime in the near future, so there's no point in modifying it. Two, he originally bought the smaller displacement motorcycle because it was affordable and therefore doesn't have any spare money to willingly spend on what's known as a starter bike here in the States. Or three, he'll upgrade to a larger displacement bike sometime in the near future, so again, there's kind of no point for them to really waste money in a starter bike. So all in all, we simply don't appreciate smaller displacement bikes as meaningful pieces of engineering mastery. And that's not to say that those little bikes shouldn't be appreciated or that we don't appreciate them. It's just kind of the perception that we have. Unfortunately, there's a stigma associated with owning those little bikes here in the States. On the flip side, if you browse Instagram, you'll be absolutely blown away by the amount of love and care other folks around the world give their small displacement motorcycles. They wrap it, they probably spend thousands on aftermarket parts, and flex it like nobody's business. They're proud and they have no shame. Not to say that we Americans, again, aren't proud of our little boys, but we certainly aren't spending hundreds, let alone thousands, or wrapping them. On the opposite side of the spectrum, it's extremely cool to see how other people view leader or larger displacement bikes. In America, for example, you can buy a used 1000 for under $4K nowadays if you want some early 2000s animal. So we don't necessarily idolize 1000s because they're pretty attainable, whereas the other countries around the world, you would still have to collect all of the levels of licenses before you can even legally operate such a large displacement beast. It's like playing a video game and achieving the highest level to unlock a hidden ability. Once achieved, you feel whole and or complete. Likewise, folks around the world feel a tremendous amount of pride when they buy their first 1000. Again, that's not to say us Americans don't freak out when we get a new toy, but you typically don't see folks at dealerships going bonkers over 1000 being sold, even if it's brand new. You're almost like a hero in other countries for owning such pieces of engineering mastery, and by that point, most other motorists probably respect you because you actually earned the status of being able to ride 1000 instead of simply just dropping more money just to buy something outright like here in the States. Hence why I believe that most folks over here in America just shrug when they see 1000. It's kind of, quote, normal. you'd pretty much have to buy an Italian superbike or a Ninja H2 just to garner the same kind of attention that you'd otherwise receive if you were to buy, say, a Gixxer 600 in Pakistan. Alrighty guys, that pretty much wraps up this video. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up and comment down in the comment section below. Tell me where you're from and what laws does your country have regarding motorcycles, and what's your dream bike. Please stay tuned for more videos just like this, and until next time, peace out.